Hello everyone, this is Tony with Intake Support, and this is going to be a quick tutorial video on how to use the Cinema application with the Junior. In this video we're going to be covering installing the Cinema application, creating a macro file, publishing it to the Junior, and then showing you how to do a test execution of that macro. If this is your first time using the Junior, or if you're unfamiliar with the Junior support tool, I suggest you watch our tutorial video on first time setups before this one. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is go to Intake's website and then find the Cinema Update project, download it, and then use that in the support tool to install it on our Junior. Cinema is an add-on application and it doesn't come preloaded on a Junior. So I'm going to open up a browser and then URL, I'm going to type junior.com. This takes me to Intake's homepage and I'm going to go to Applications, and then under Add-on Applications there's a Cinema section. This is going to open the Cinema Overview page in the Cinema Knowledge Base. And as you can see, there's quite a couple downloads, but the top one is the one we're looking for. It should say cinema.jar update project. So I'm going to click this, and as you can see at the bottom left, it's downloaded it. So now that we have that, I'm going to minimize, and we're going to go over the Junior support tool to install that update project onto the Junior. Let's go click on the Junior support tool. To load an update project onto a Junior, we need to navigate to the Update tab. And you'll see a few options up here, and we're going to click Open Project. We're going to go to Downloads because that's where the update project was saved. And as you can see, we have Cinema 7.1. That's the update project we downloaded. I'm going to hit Open. You'll notice that there are steps that get loaded in. Now that we have it loaded in the support tool, we are going to publish it to the Junior on our network, and that will load Cinema onto it along with rebooting it to make sure the changes take effect. So I'm going to hit Publish. It's going to give you a selection dialog. You're going to click the checkbox to the left of the Juniors or Junior you want to publish to, and we're going to hit OK. It's going to double prompt you. We're going to hit Yes, and it's going to start the update project. And like I said, it's going to install Cinema and then reboot it. Okay, so the Junior successfully updated. So I'm going to click OK. So this is the Macro tab, and this is where macros are created, then saved to a .csv file, then published to the Junior so that when Cinema receives a command to execute a macro, that macro has a list of actions defined for it, and it knows what to do. So in this example, we're going to create a macro that simply just pulses output 1 for 1 second. To start, if you look at the Macro tab, you'll see on the left side there's a macro view, and on the right side there's an action view. We are going to create a macro and then take actions from the action view and add them to macros in the macro view. So to start, at the bottom left there is an Add button. We're going to select that and hit the macro option. And as you can see in the macro view, at the top there is a defined macro called New Macro 1. That's just the default name. We're going to rename it. We're going to name it Pulse Output 1 because that's what we're doing. This macro is going to pulse output 1. Okay, so now that we have that, we have an empty macro. There's no actions in it. If that were to be executed, it wouldn't do anything. So we're going to take an action from the action view and add it over. Looking at the action view, you can see that there's quite a few predefined actions here. They're all to do with the I/O of the Junior. They'll let you pulse, open, or close outputs or pulse inputs. For this example, we're just going to use the first action in this action view because it does what we want it to do. You can add additional actions using this Add button at the bottom, but like I said, we have what we need already here, so we'll do that in a separate video. So we're going to select this action at the top, and we're going to go through it. The name is Output 1. The device type is Route 1. That means Relay Output 1, which is the output we want to interact with on the Junior. And the action is Close Pulse. Like I said before, we don't want to open, close, or toggle it. We want to pulse it. So we're going to leave it as Close Pulse. And then the data is the number of seconds that the output will pulse for, as the help section here also defines. We're fine with all this. We can leave this all here because that's what we want it to do. We just want to pulse it for 1 second. So now that we have our action, we're going to add it to our macro so that when the macro is executed, it'll do that action. To add an action to a macro, you just have the action highlighted just by clicking on it. I'm going to click on the macro, and as you'll see in the middle, there is an arrow that lights up when both are selected. I'm going to click that arrow, and as you can see, the action has now been added to the macro. So great, we now have a macro that will pulse an output for 1 second due to the action we've added to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to save our file, we're going to publish it to the junior, and then we're going to execute that macro. So I'm going to click Save As, and as you can see, it opens a file location for you to save your macros in, and also the name of the macro file by default is macro_.csv. Macro files being created through the support tool follow a naming format. It has to start with macro and end in .csv. It can have anything in between. So to show you, I'll just do test, and this should save just fine. So our macro file name will be macro_test.csv. I'm going to hit save. Cool, that worked. So now we're going to publish it to the junior. I'm going to click Publish to Junior, and as you can see, our junior that is on our network being detected by Beacon will show up here. I'm going to click the checkbox next to it to say, hey, this is the junior I want to publish to, and then I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to begin putting that file on the junior. So once this finishes, the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you a cool tool on the support tool that will help you test macros by executing them. It's called the macro name sender. So once this finishes updating, like it just did, I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go to the Tools section at the top of the support tool, and I'm going to click Macro Execution. And you can see I have this little tool now. It's called Macro Name Sender. And basically, you're just going to put the name of the macro you want to use, and then you just define the junior that you want to send it to. And then you'll hit Connect and send the macro, and it'll work. So our macro name is Pulse Output 1. Our junior is 86, 10.0.86. So I'm going to type that here. Junior is the username and password. I'm going to connect. It says I'm logged in, and now when I hit this send, it's going to pulse output 1 on the junior. You'll see that it says it executed, and it did happen, and I'll show you. I'll click it again, but show you on the junior. So we've created a quick example of a macro that pulses an output for 1 second. Thank you so much for watching. If you need any additional assistance using Cinema, please let us know and we'll help you out.